What is art but making things more complicated than they need to be in interesting and pleasing ways? That's what I tell myself. I'm about to overcomplicate this. First I need to finish it, final grind, clean up, make it pretty and ready to go. The complicated part will come after. First, let's get this ready.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again. And yeah, we are going to overcomplicate this thing. We really are. I'm going to montage through getting it ready nice and quickly because I want to get to the more exciting stuff. This is a really, really fun video to put together. I've had the most fun with this as any of them. And real quick, if you're interested in supporting this kind of stuff and seeing more of it, please do stick around to the very end. I have an important message to share with y'all. Now, getting this cleaned up took a very long time, for a reason we'll discuss shortly. Mostly tool issues, process issues. But it went relatively smoothly, and I'm just loving how this thing is looking. Which is why I'm going to do something today to completely ruin the look. But it's worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. I know what I'm doing. I've done this before. But yes, bring it to the final dimension on the edges. Almost there, not actually edged, but very close. Getting all these transitions nice and clean and smooth, and all the scratch patterns fixed, which, yes, wonderful.
Okay. Really quickly, I've been having a big problem with all of the power tools that I have for sanding metal, grinding metal, everything. It's chatter. Chatter is exactly what it sounds like, the workpiece vibrating against the tool, or the tool vibrating against the workpiece. In this case, with my belt grinder, if you put it on at an angle, you're gonna dig in with the corner. If it's chattering, it's kicking into those edges and corners rather than sitting nice and flat. So that's a problem. You see that striping, it makes it really easy to see. And that just comes from pushing too hard on a kind of a worn belt. But I was getting deep gouging where it was bad enough that if I went from the grinder then to hand sanding, the hand sanding would take down the high scratches, but those gouges would be left, and it's just not something I can work through. It doesn't have to be a mirror polish here, but it does need to be consistent, or to look like crap. I fixed the problem finally. The solution cost me nothing. I just never believed it would have worked, and it's only mostly working now. It'll fail eventually. I put a piece of cardboard behind the sandpaper on the platen. It's taped in there with electrical tape, which, as you can see, the back of the belt melts right through, but enough of it is still holding that it's still on, and this is after, an hour of using it. Just a piece of cardboard on the metal. That's it. Completely solved the problem, and now my tool actually does what it needs to do, and what was taking me, days, honestly, I could probably get done in, an hour or two. Problem solved. For now.
And 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I saw that coming. So I was standing so far to the side, it's just a piece of cardboard, it was fine. After this, I went back and just super glued it on, which worked amazingly well. Now what the cardboard does is it just softens the platen. Rather than the hard metal pushing on hard metal through a thin piece of sandpaper, it's got that little bit of cushioning, and that stops it from chattering, stops it from vibrating. It was amazing how much difference that made. So that let me get it all finished up. Then I did the edges again, and a little bit of hand sanding, not much.
So now what's next? If this is ready, what is it ready for?
So case hardening. This is a process that I learned from ClickSpring. He's got an amazing video on this. Great content, excellent production value, makes it really simple. Even if you don't care about this sort of stuff, trust me, watch it. It's really cool.
That's probably good enough. Charcoal powder, more or less, flour, and salt, which is going to take that wonderful pretty thing and make it much less pretty.
So we're making up this paste. The basic idea is we're putting it on the axe, it's full of carbon, and it's going to get sealed in with clay, and the carbon will then migrate into the steel as we heat it. Yeah, that's kind of a critical part there. You got to heat it up to the same temperature you would get it to before quenching steel. So it's the critical temperature at which point the metal is in solution. You know, the atoms are freely associating with other atoms, in this case, the carbon.
So far, it just looks like a mess. And that's because it is. It's a mess. There. Now to start heating the metal, we should help this stuff dry on it. Meanwhile, I gotta make some clay. Second verse, same as the first, a little bit messier. Well, a lot messier.
Even within case hardening, this is not the easiest way to do this, by the way. It's just the way that I can do it on a whim at 8 p.m. Go outside, grab some clay from the ground, and make the clay.
Holds together. We're starting to.
But yeah, anything to keep the oxygen out would do the trick. A metal canister, whatever.
The camera's gonna run out of battery or space, and my hands are gonna be like this, and I'm not gonna want to touch the camera. So if it suddenly cuts to tomorrow, that's why.
This was a lot of fun, though.
Okay. It's a bunch of clay. And hopefully it doesn't get stuck to the floor. Heck. I mean, I've got flour. It's gonna be such a mess in here. This is fun. This is more fun than it has any right to be. Make no mistake, I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because I want to. I thought it'd be cool. Hope you agree. Bam. Okay. That worked! I mean, why wouldn't it? Of course it would work, but still. Flour to do clay. It's hot, but I can touch. Briefly. Okay, that's staying on more or less.
You know, just playing in the dirt, on the floor.
I'm afraid to see what's going to happen when I try to turn it over. It'll be fine.
It wasn't fine. I had to do this a whole second time because it all fell apart. It was better to do it one side at a time.
Oh boy, well, that was a way to spend several hours. I had to wash my hands and have a snack. Thank you, Rachel, for bringing me dinner / midnight snack. I wanted to pull the camera back up and be on the ground completely covered in filth. Look right at you and say, you know, there are some days that I question my life choices. But oddly enough, this isn't one of them. Next day. Looks like an axe head covered in dirt. Or maybe like, I don't know, an axe head shaped calzone. So now, a little bit of wood there. Dad's wood / charcoal fired forge. Bunch more wood in there. And a pile of fire brick. Hair dryer. We're gonna case harden this thing. Yeah. Carburize. We're gonna carburize this thing. I'm going to build a kiln, basically, a wood-fired kiln, around this old forge base, which has got the pipe in the bottom with holes, so I can take this hair dryer, like that.
This old forge, this old Tony's lesser-known cousin.
Pro tip, you can't do a fancy jump cut if you move the camera. Took the first shot, was gonna have it so I walked in front of the camera and then, you know, mask it so that behind me it just appeared and then I moved the camera. Got some very heavy 1/2-inch plate bars supporting the axe head. There we go.
Now I'm just gonna get this fired up, let it burn just on its own for a bit without the air supply. let's jump ahead then.
Okay, I added a little chimney there. Try and help it to make sure that the wind wasn't blowing the heat out the side, make sure that it's going up, and it just looks so cool. Look at this thing. A quick glance inside showed that we are getting to temperature. It's gotta keep going. I think I've burned a quarter to a third of the wood I already cut. Real fast.
This is a hungry little dragon that I have invited into my home. Very hungry.
Well, that looks cool. We're at like about 2.5 hours now. I really don't know how long I should leave it. So I think I'll just burn through the remainder of the wood I've got cut up and let it cool down. Okay, I just took a glance inside and I'm not the happiest with what I saw. It looks like possibly the clay melted and came off. That's hot.
Yep, the bottom was actually slightly glowing as I picked that up. It was kind of hot.
See, there's a hole in it there. Down on the side there. Yep.
Suspense.
It's stuck to the bar. It's crackly. Oh dear. So that's interesting. So on this side, the carbon pack survived. On the other side, it didn't. Interesting texture on here. I think the steel is okay. Looks fine. Let's break off the rest of this.
The colors and textures that came from this whole process, both this part and then the acid etching that comes later to help remove the scale, are just stunning. Now, removing thick scale can be done just by making the base metal flex with heat. Look at this stuff just pop off.
There we go. It's like exploding off. Cool. Here's the thing. I do not know whether or not the carburization was successful. I'm just going to try it. I'm going to see if I can get this to harden. First in oil, and if after 2 attempts there it does nothing, I may be so bold as to try a water quench. We're gonna give it a try and see what happens. This should just fit. Get a test. Add a little bit more.
That's the equivalent of dry fitting before you glue up your wood. Make sure it's gonna fit. I preheated the oil, and I'm going to use my torch. It won't fit in my forge anymore, and this gives me more control. I don't want to keep it very hot for very long and let that carbon burn back out of the steel. That would be no good. Now you're going to see me grab a maggot here and check it on the edge. For those of you who don't know, that's testing to see if it's over the Curie point where it goes non-magnetic. That signifies that it's within probably about 50 degrees of its probable critical temperature for quench hardening. I don't know exactly, because this is basically mystery steel now. Watch me turn that torch off left-handed, oh yeah.
That actually looks quite promising. Looks like it goes to about there. That's gorgeous. That's definitely hard. It worked! It worked! To pull it out of the oil there and see those clear colors, it's like, something's hardened. And there you go. I need to do the back piece and see if it also will be successful compared to the front edge. I don't care nearly as much. I was completely ready for it to not work a second time, not work in water, be a complete failure, and then go back to the metal store. I could buy a few small pieces of sheet metal and weld up a box and try again. I mean, I've come this far. It worked. I don't have to do that. It worked. That said, in the future, I would highly recommend anyone trying to replicate this process, buy clay, like from the store that's good. Yeah. All right, let's do the back piece. It's definitely harder, but I am satisfied with that for the back edge, which isn't super useful anyway, mostly decorative. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna edit this. I've jumped around a little bit, but I'm gonna record this now. Let's call this the end bumper. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. Like, share, subscribe. Also, I have in fact started a Patreon. I started it because I got the email and a couple of friends of mine let me know, oh hey, they're changing their policies. And I don't know exactly what the differences are, but I do know that when they're talking about, don't worry, it's okay, existing users are gonna get grandfathered into the old rules, like, sounds like the new rules might not be as advantageous. So I got that all set up. It's linked down in the description. And if anybody who's watching still at this point can throw in $1, just $1. I haven't established tiers yet, though I have some ideas on that. Eventually, a certain level of donation, I think, would say, hey, pick a day sometime this year and come work in the forge with me. But I have some other thoughts, maybe like a supporters board, maybe on that pegboard back there with little, like I'll make a little metal something or other that's you, and I'll put you up there, so you'll be there supporting me. I don't know. Something fun. It's there. If you can throw $1 in. If you can't, just tell people about it, whatever. I really appreciate all the help. So, one last look at this blade, and I think this is gonna be the end. It's sure not as shiny anymore, but I love how it looks.